A lot's happened since yesterday!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of A Lot's Happened Since Yesterday. My name is Ralph Busso.
I am Cody Walker, and our guest today is the great RJ Kruszynski. RJ, how you doing, my friend?
What's up, guys? How we doing?
Doing excellent,
Hold
brother.
on, RJ.
Thrilled to be here. Big fan of the show, and obviously with the band too. Ralph and I go back a little bit.
Yeah,
You got some history with him.
Yeah, we had the pleasure of getting hit up by RJ a while back. I don't remember if it was the release for Rebel or if it was the release for See-Through, but
I think see-through. I think it was see-through.
it was See-Through. Okay.
Yeah.
And you interviewed us you interviewed me on your podcast. So that was really cool. I appreciate that. And I figured it was about time to return the favor.
well, it's always great to talk to you. I really dig all the albums. There's not really a bad one. Everybody's like, I'm not huge into music, but when I find something that you can listen to beginning to end, however many tracks there is, there's not too many in there that you say, okay, well, that's the weak song or that's a weak song, you go to any music album, there's a couple there and there, but I put you guys along that same lines of like a Foo Fighters, Metallica-esque, where you go, the albums are just beginning to end. It's just like, it's bangers.
Nice. Cool. That's an awesome compliment. I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, for those, real quick, Ralph, but for those who don't know who RJ is just yet, let me give him a real quick introduction. He is a podcaster. His show is the Ringside Rant. He just celebrated your 100th episode. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Very nice.
Thank you.
And his podcast available, all major outlets. You can find him. Go check him out because the motherfucker's out of his mind.
Well, I have to be to do 100 episodes straight,
Well, seriously. Yeah. I mean, we're starting to understand what it takes
too. Definitely does. Yeah.
I mean, we're about what? This is episode 30
something.
Something. Yeah. I don't quite remember at this moment in time, but me and Ralph look at him and go, God, man, how much work have we done to get here? And you're already 100 in. Good Lord, dude. It takes a lot of grinding.
It's my outlets. I something I don't, I don't take lightly because, excuse me, you get your everyday shoot job and what have you. And I'm like, I just get home and you guys caught me on a good week. I'm off all week. I had to take a week of vacation or I'd lose it nice. So I'm like, I gotta take a week and to get all this good stuff going this week. I was on a show last night. I got on your guys today. I'm recording 2 shows tomorrow, and nice. I don't. My wife's like, how do you do it? I'm like, I have no idea. I just do it because if I stop, then I start thinking too much, and then sometimes I'm a enemy of myself.
Right.
Absolutely. I get myself into trouble. So I'm like, if I stay busy, I don't have to worry about that. And I like what I do too. And it's not, that's one of the things I learned very early on when I started is first and foremost, you gotta like what you do. You gotta like to talk about the topics that you talk about or talk to the people that you talk to. When that stops being fun, then it's time to hang it up or move on to something else.
Right, exactly. Right. And I've noticed one of the recurring themes with anybody we've talked to on this show is just like you said, you really don't know why you do it. You just kind of have to. Like same thing with me and Ralph. We do this shit because we just don't have a choice. COVID shut us down and we're like, we can't do music. Fuck it. What can we do? What can we create? And it just kind of pushes us to continue. I know how that feels, Yeah,
because I think when I had Ralph on, I think everything just started happening with the virus, and you were talking. I may be awful a bit. My memory's not so good sometimes, but I think you guys were talking about doing like Zoom concerts or something like that, where you guys are doing it from somebody's backyard and doing it on YouTube or Zoom or something. And I'm like, I don't know how a lot of comedians or musicians are surviving because of this virus. And it's a lot of the wrestling business too, the independent contractors that, whether they be in California, New York, New Jersey, Florida, every state's different.
Right.
So some of them are starting to come back. Some of them are still out, and some of them will never come back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the vast majority of the world that you're talking about, just like in music and the higher end, not every wrestler has a contract with the WWE. You know, they're touring and entertaining and making their bones, and all of a sudden they can't. Now what? You know?
Right, and it's even the WWE and all the other AEWs, NWAs, ROH, all those companies. They're all independent contractors.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not, you know, they're making good money, yes, but they have to pay for their, just like musicians, they have to pay to get there to the concert or the venue. They have to pay for their hotel. They have to pay for their food. They have to pay for their health benefits even. Right. That's always been a big discussion, I guess you could say, with the wrestling businesses. A lot WWE, they don't give their performers, their talent, health insurance. They don't offer it. Where you have a company like All Elite Wrestling that just came out based out of Florida, you're starting to see that change. Right. You're starting to see them being offered health insurance because just like professional sports, you've seen guys pass away from heart disease or what have you, whatever the reasonings behind it is, at a very young age.
Right.
And it's difficult to see, and it's difficult because I've been watching it since I'm about my son's age. My son's 9. I've been watching it pretty religiously since I was 8, 9, 10, 11, that era. So
right.
Let me ask you something. When it comes to wrestling, and let's say you're an up and coming wrestler. Okay. Yeah. You're fairly young. You're new to the game for the most part, but you've got a lot of skills, a lot of talent. How do you break through? How do you get into it in a big way? Is it like with the music business where there are opportunities that you have to actually buy into?
Well, first you got to go get trained. First you got to have the love for it, because you're not going to, just, I'm sure like with you guys, when you guys started up, you're not going to start and main event or headline, Wembley Stadium like the Foo Fighters or Metallica. Right. You're going to be running these podunk towns that will seat 30 people if you're lucky. Same thing goes for professional wrestling. You start independent, you start in armories, you start in bingo halls, high school gyms, middle school gyms, whatever the case may be. But you got to get that love for it first, because you're not going to be making anything. If, hot dog and a handshake's the old adage. Yeah. You'll get a hot dog. Hey, thanks for coming tonight. Here's some food. And it's always a food that's either 2 hours old or something, but no, you gotta get there. You gotta get trained by a reputable person or group or what have you. And then you just gotta bust your ass, because you're on your own after that. You're on your own to get bookings. You're on your own to, trans, all that stuff to get to the venues, whether you're going from New York to Florida to California, whatever. Granted, you usually stay in a regular time, obviously being in the COVID era, we call it, I guess. You're not traveling. In a regular time, you can go from New York to New Jersey. You basically work the East Coast, the Northeast, Southeast, what have you. And you work these places for only, maybe if you're lucky, if you're experienced, if you're lucky, $100 cash in your pocket.
Good Lord.
But you're not going to be, nowadays you're going to be noticed if you're making a splash in these companies, wherever they may be. WWE's always looking, AEW's always looking, NW, all these major promotions across the country are always looking, because they want to have that, that new face, that new talent to come in. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but for the most part, the strong always survive. They really do.
You've had a ton of interviews, I'm sure. At this point, you've done over 100 podcast episodes. Mm-hmm. What got you started, and what got you into the wrestling aspect of it?
So this goes back probably, let's see, my shoot job I've been at for almost 13 years. It probably goes back about 5-6 years ago. And the guy I worked with, he's like, hey, I drive for a living. So I drive between places. It could be a half hour, 45 minutes, whatever. So I always want to listen to music. I want to listen to podcasts. I want to listen to something. It's like, dude, you got an iPhone. He's like, you got to download the podcast app. It's a purple thing. Well, whatever. So I said, okay, fine, whatever. So I downloaded it and I just throw in there just a generic wrestling. I've always been a wrestling fan. I grew up watching Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper, Macho Man Savage, and back in the mid to early 90s. And
who was your favorite back then?
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a Hulkamaniac, a Hulk Hogan fan.
Hell yeah.
But my brother, there's 3 years difference between us, and we go back to the days. I'm sure you guys know the old cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And we had a cassette tape with probably at that point as maybe 4 or 5 theme songs. And Hogan was one of them. Ultimate Warrior was another. Randy Savage was one. And Dusty Rhodes was one. And we basically pretend we were those wrestlers and jump off the couch and drop elbows on each other. And of course, we did this all when our mother or my dad were gone and we were alone, because we knew we were finished when somebody started crying or somebody started bleeding.
Kind of like a real wrestling match.
Exactly. But that's how I got into it. Was I just ended up searching wrestling, and something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson popped up, and they were just starting. They did an episode. I think their first episode was with Dusty Rhodes. And I was always a big old school wrestling fan, and I still am. So I'm like, oh, what the hell? I'll pop it in and listen to it, and went right through. It was like a 2-hour show or something. I'm like, holy shit, this stuff's good. And I'm like, well, let's see what happens. So one thing led to another, and I started listening to that, and then Tony Schiavone's came up, and one day my buddy's like, hey, you got a lot of knowledge about wrestling. Why don't you do a podcast? I'm like, what the hell's a podcast? Oh, that purple thing. Okay. So my buddy's like, yeah, you gotta do this, do that. And this was well before you had the microphones, you had the headset, you had the computers. I was literally calling. I had a smartphone. One of my first smartphones I had was an iPhone. I still have an iPhone, but that's beside the point. And he's like, dude, download. I think it was like Google something, whatever. Call me, because my first co-host was from the UK, and we would just basically shoot the shit about the current product, and that got old real quick. So I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? I start interviewing, and I started interviewing independent wrestlers from the area, and then one thing led to another, and I started interviewing higher ups and higher up and higher up. But it's all about who you know. It really is.
Yeah.
And like I said, that was, like I said, probably almost about 3-4 years ago. And, you get burnt out. You really do. And
it's such a grind, isn't it?
It is. But when I tell my wife all the time, I said, when you say I get to podcast today, or I get to record today with your co-host or whatever,
yeah,
that's good. When you say I have to podcast,
problem.
Okay, maybe that's a problem. Because like I said, 3-4 years on and off doing this, because I'll go like a month or two without doing anything. And then I get that itch again. Then I want to go back and do it again, whether I do interviews or do the formatted shows or whatever.
Right.
But no, and it just snowballs after that. And now I have the pleasure, like I said, coming on this show, going on other shows. And it's just something I love doing. I love, talking shop, what is, like they say, talk about wrestling, talk about music, talk about current events, talk about this, whatever. Or just, talk about guys being guys or whatever,
Exactly.
And it's my biggest thing is I always tried to make my stuff as unique as possible. I don't want my stuff to sound like, that stuff or this show or that show or whatever show. And now it's like people come to me for advice. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just a guy. You guys are doing great. I like, downloads are great. This is great. That's great. Okay, fantastic. And it's just like, okay, that's a great idea.
Keep it up.
Literally,
Yeah.
I have probably my notes on my phone, or probably, I kid you not, I probably have probably about a dozen just note folders, because it's just random stuff I think about. I don't want to forget.
Right.
Because if I don't put it down, I'm sure you guys are the same with music.
Yeah.
You don't think about a lyric or a line or whatever, or a question you want to ask. You forget it.
Absolutely. And you have to take the time and go, stop, let me do this, or it is gone forever. Right. You've just thrown it away.
And it's just, maybe it's those 2 concussions I've had since I've been when I played for high school and college sports, because it's like, okay, why did I come in the kitchen for now? Oh yeah, I got to do this. Or why did I come downstairs? Oh, I got to do that. But yeah, it's a snowball effect. Once you start it, it's hard to stop sometimes, because once you love what you do, that's all that matters. Yeah. Whether you're making, merchandise money off of it, or sponsorship money, or whatever, that's secondary. Because you get to meet guys like you, Cody, like Ralphie. It snowballs, because then you get to have those relationships, those personal relationships where you can, hey, how's so-and-so? How's the wife doing? How's the kids doing? Yeah. And to look at my phone now and see certain contacts that I thought I'd never have in my phone, or emails that I thought I'd never have.
Yeah.
Not to mark out too much, but that's going back and looking at it when I started basically recording from an iPad to an iPhone. The audio sounded like shit. And now it's like, now I take pride. It's like, you got to sound great.
Absolutely.
And the audio has to be perfect. And I have to do it. I can't rely on my co-hosts, or I can't, and nothing against them, but I'm like, if I want it done a certain way, okay, I'll take the advice. And I always do. I said, hey, listen to this. If I miss something, let me know. Right. But it's just, I want to make sure that everything sounds perfect, as perfect can be, I guess.
Nice. Well, to me, that's how a professional has to be. That's the attitude a professional needs to have. If you want to do something, you've got to do it the right way. Or else, you know what I mean? What are you doing? Like they say, go big or go home, right? So exactly. The truth is, if you wanted people to respect you and to appreciate the work that you put out, then you've got to put your heart and soul into it. So cool, man. How long has Ringside Rant been going now? 4 years, did you say?
On and off. Yeah, I've been through different formats, different interviews, but I think I found my niche right now with what we're doing. I love the format because it's unique. I'm still doing interviews. I'm not doing as much, but like you said, Ralph, you're going big or you're going home.
Right.
I've had guys like Savio Vega, who's a old WWF guy from the early 90s. I just had the 100th episode was Eric Bischoff, who just got inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame.
That's a huge get. Jesus.
And I'm going big, pop the ratings, so to speak. But it's just those things. It's like who you know. It really is, because I got hooked up with my buddy Coach. He's going to kill me for not knowing where he's out of. But anyways, beside the point, he's like, hey, do you want to interview so-and-so? Being Eric. Yeah. I said, sure as hell I do. I'm like, he's like, here's his email. Okay. Emailed him and snowballed, man. And it's just all about those connections that you make. And, and if it wasn't like for, I know Ralphie and you guys with Anthony Turbo, if it wasn't for him, I would have never met you guys. I would never have the peek behind the curtain. Rebel is going to be the new theme song for the show. And I wouldn't have that. And I wouldn't be on the show today. I wouldn't have listened to all the albums that you guys have had. And just literally now when it's sunny and 50, 60 degrees outside here in Western New York, I can open up the windows and blast it so everybody else can hear it. But yeah, it's just looking back at it. I'm like, I'm just shocked. I'm at the place now. I can't imagine how'd I get here?
That's awesome, man. That's really cool, because sometimes you just, when you're chasing down a dream and it's something that you're seriously interested in, sometimes it's just you lose yourself in the work.
Yeah.
And the passion that comes with that work. And once you do, man, big things start to happen. A lot of people don't realize that. But what you want to do, in my opinion, you want to stay away from overthinking it. You know, thinking about it too much, in my opinion. If you overthink it, I got to do this, I got to do that. Yeah, there's things you have to do. But at the same time, you have to enjoy the ride. If you're not enjoying the ride, people are going to tell. People can tell. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what got me burned out, to be honest with you guys, because I got to the point where I was so worried about how many listens or how many plays the show would get. And I would literally, because I have the app on my phone now, excuse me, and the host site will show you. I'm like, it's like a ticker. I'm like, I would constantly, like every hour on the hour, I would check it, and it would drive me crazy. Oh, this episode should have done this because I had this episode, or this guest, or that guest. I'm like, what the hell? What's the point? And it's just, you got to have those guests on there that you respect, the guys that you like, or people that you like, and talk about something that you enjoy talking about.
Yeah.
After that, it all falls into place, and you have to be positive about it. I was always worried about what everybody else was doing, and it was a matter of Turbo coming to me, Anthony, and saying, "Hey, screw with everybody else. Worry about you. Worry about the show. Worry about what you guys are doing."
Facts.
Everything else will fall where it may, and you have to stay positive.
Speaking of Anthony, definitely want to give him a shout out. Anthony,
Hell yes. Shout out to Anthony.
Shout out. Turbo. He's always supportive.
I love it. Every time we post an episode, I see a comment. I'm like, I know what it is. It's just a bunch of metal horns on the.
And I talk to him on a regular basis. I try to at least do it. At least, hey, what's going on? Hope that everything's going well. Because he's like, yeah. Last time I talked to him, he's like, yeah, we're moving to the beach. I'm like, oh, it must be a tough freaking life, you son of a bitch. And I'm like, you got to do all the detail work from the house now, but. He's like, oh, yeah, it's cold as hell down here. It's like 60 degrees. I'm like, dude, it's like 50 up here, and I'm in shorts. What do you want?
That's funny. Yeah, Anthony's a good guy, man. I've
Yeah.
known him for a while. I did a TV show a while back with Steve Santini. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but
Yep.
he was doing his, I think it was a podcast that he had at that time, and called TurboCast, right? And
Yeah.
he interviewed myself and Steve. Real cool guy, man. We became friends after that. So, and that is a takeaway I always do usually when I meet cool people, whether it be via my band Ravenscroft or what we're doing now with the podcast. It's I'm really happy. It fulfills me, really, the fact that we're able to meet people and make connections with people, and they're true connections. I think, you know what I mean.
I agree.
We've talked to a few of the people that we've gotten done doing podcasts with, and they were like, "Dude, I had a lot of fun, man. It was like talking to an old friend, you know." And so that meant a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to Cody. What do you say, Cody?
Dude, 100%.
What are your thoughts on that?
When me and Ralph started this show, it was just like we wanted to not. We're musicians. We knew we were going to be in music. It was going to be kind of in that lane, but we wanted to branch out and be like, we just want to enjoy art. We realized we're like you know, RJ said, I have a life, but my dreams are elsewhere, and I do this, and that's where we focus. And now it's this point where we're at in the show. It's like, what is this fucking life? I mean, we've got side shows. We're doing a show with Mark Thompson from Mark and Brian out of nowhere just because we said, hey, you want to do a show? And like RJ said, he's like, sure. And we're like, wait, really? Like, that's all you got to do is fucking ask? Now we're just sending emails to everybody going, fuck, let's go and play, you know? And it really is. It turns your head how when you go, instead of going, you know, I'm in music or I'm in wrestling or I'm in movies, you go, I'm a content creator and I love art. That world just shrinks and everybody becomes your brother and sister. And it's so crazy when you start supporting and showing, look, I'm in it with you. Like RJ, you get Eric Bischoff because this guy's for real. He's holding my shit up and I respect people holding my shit up. And
it's all about, like I said before, it's about, if it's any advice that I can give to anybody that's thinking about starting a show, do it.
Yep.
What's there to lose? Because, okay, you got a computer, bingo. You get a microphone, $60, headphones, $30. You're not breaking the bank.
Yep.
You know, you got the full-time job, what have you. You get the income coming in, and one thing led to another. I'm like, I never thought I'd have sponsors for the show. I never thought I'd have merchandise. I never thought I'd have, as you can tell right here, right.
Hang on, let me get a close up. There you go. Show it. Look at
Where
that.
am I going?
Either way, brother, show it all. Show it all.
Oh,
look at there. There you go, people. Check it all.
over there.
Brody Lee forever. Love
you
it.
guys sound like you're at a strip club.
Show it all,
baby.
There
Show the last one.
Oh.
Ringside Rant
There you go.
T-shirt, people.
So-
go check it out.
Ringside Rant. Nice.
So I didn't want to. That's actually one of the new logos that I had. I've had so many different logos. I'm like, it's got to fit, man, because you want to get that rant. I wanted to.
I love the Rolling Stones feel, by the way. I'm not going to lie. I instantly go,
That's how I wanted to. My buddy over Seth over at Ringside Design, you can find him on Twitter. I'm like, dude, I need something that's similar to either Rolling Stone or Aerosmith.
Oh, he
And I'm
nailed
like,
it.
I
Shit.
don't want to get sued, so make sure it looks different.
Yeah.
So that's why, if you look at it, one of the couple of the teeth are missing. And okay,
I got you.
Go
for
there.
it.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It looks like he's got teeth missing. Yeah.
So you got a couple of the teeth missing.
Yeah. It's just enough callback to be like, right on, but it's not. It's your own.
Right.
He did a great job.
Right. So I wanted to make more of it my own and all that stuff. And if you go over to shameless plug, you go over to ringsiderant.whatforapparel.com. You can check that out there. We got that shirt. We got another shirt out there that's more of a wrestling-esque feel to it. But yeah, I would have never thought I'd have merchandise. I never would have thought that I'd have the opportunity to have guys like Ralph on, to guys have like Eric Bischoff, to have Dr. Tom Pritchard, to guys have Savio Vega, and that's all well and great. But it's like I say, go back to having fun. You have fun with your co-host talking about this match or that match or this person or that person. And it's like, dude, we just talked for like an hour and a half. How the hell is that possible? And then I'm like, oh crap, now I gotta go back and edit it. So that's gonna take, as you guys can probably relate, you gotta make sure that it gets down to a certain amount. And it's like, it never takes an hour and a half.
I'll tell you what though, bro. I'm proud of you for doing this because a lot of people give up. You know what I mean? They want to do something, but they don't chase it down the way they should. You know what I mean? Because if you want something bad enough, that's what you got to do, right? There's an old saying: anything worth having in this life, you have to work hard for. You have to fight for. It's not, you know what I mean? I know it doesn't go exactly like that, but my point is, you get the point.
Yeah,
you have to fight for what's worth.
Yeah, because I go back and when I grew up, I played baseball my whole life. I played up until I was 18, 19 years old, and always a big sports fan. I watch ESPN a lot, still do to the day. And Jim Valvano was the old NC State basketball coach for years, and he came down with cancer. And they have the Jimmy Valvano Courage Award now for the ESPYs through ESPN. Right. And his biggest saying was, "Don't give up, don't ever give up." And I've always had that. That was always, it's not now, so you don't have to worry about it. My password was always Jimmy V because it made me think of that every single time. And I take that to what I do now with the show, because I do the merch, I do the promotions, I do the marketing, I do the editing. Is it a lot? Yeah, but I enjoy doing it. And you got to think about being the end game about it. Right. And my co-host has always been asked, "Hey, what do you need me to do?" Just promote it, man. Just promote it. It's a different avenue. It's a different person saying it, promoting the show, promoting what we got. And I want to take this as long as I can. I will do this as long as I can. I'm not going to, everybody's like, "Oh, I got this to do. I have too much time." My wife knows that this is my outlet. Her outlet's going to the gym 3 days a week, 4 days a week. Okay, then I'm playing dad. Yeah. I'll be here doing homework with my son. I'll be, hey, make sure you go take a shower. We'll go outside, we'll play catch or whatever. Fine, great. That's that time away from it. That's when I say, okay, I still have to take my phone out with me. And they always yell at me, "You're always on your phone." I'm like, well, you see that that tweet or that message or that whatever, that's $20 right there. That's $10. That's 15, whatever.
Right.
That's extra money coming in that I normally wouldn't have been making. And I said that not to say, hey, money's not everything. It isn't everything. You, like I said, you have to enjoy what you're doing. And I get tickled pink every time I get guys like you guys to say, hey, you want to come on? Or I get another show. Hey, you want to come on? Or I want to start a show with you. I'm like, dude, I don't have, lucky enough you guys caught me on a good week, but I'm like, I'm working 4 a.m. to 3:30 or so in the morning or in the afternoon. So it's tough to do a lot of stuff during the week. So I'm always usually doing it on the weekends, but it's that outlet, man. Everybody needs it.
Well, you nailed it on the head, dude. Money isn't everything. And I think a lot of people think, oh, this guy got on, I'm going to talk about wrestling because he's going to make $1 million. And you just talked about your daily workload to keep your passion alive on top of keeping your kids happy, on top of keeping your wife, all of this. And you didn't make a dime for quite a while right off the bat. So you had to chase that labor.
I just started making anything. Probably within the last year. There you go. Not even.
There you go. So anybody who thinks you're going to jump in and start making anything right off the bat, quit now because you're going to get real unhappy real fucking fast.
Yeah. But it's the same thing with music too.
Absolutely.
And you can, because I relate that with whether it be, I've had musicians, like I said, Ralph on, I've had other musicians on, I've had comedians on. Now more. Everybody's taking a hit.
Yeah.
So you have to find a different avenue to make that extra buck, to make this, to make that. And if you don't like what you do, then what the hell are you doing?
Yep. And if you're doing it for yourself, I mean, all of this stuff you're doing with your podcast, this show here, we're doing it on our own. The only people we answer to is us. So if it fucks off, it's because we fucked off. And it's like, I don't want to be the fuck off who everybody's like, oh yeah, another flavor of the month, just quit. No, I enjoy this too much. And damn that, I don't have to answer to anybody right now. And I'm enjoying that fact, but
top of the mountain, you got to be the last man standing.
And but you have to take that extra mile. If you don't take the extra mile, you're fucked.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, when I said you have to fight for what you want in this life and what you're passionate about, I didn't mean physically. I meant you have to fight yourself, basically.
Absolutely.
Because that's basically what it is. It's a big fight within ourselves to do the extraordinary things that we are capable of.
Yeah.
But most of us don't have enough of confidence in ourselves and belief in ourselves to go ahead and go for it. Because it takes a leap of faith, man. Believe me.
It does, because my previous to the show, my self-esteem was completely shot. I was always negative. I was always relying on somebody else to make it for me, do it for me. I might as well jump into this now because I was always relying on alcohol before I even started the show. And I'm not saying this to be negative. I'm saying it to hopefully we chatted about it before, but I'm saying it to help somebody. If anybody's listening to this, watching this now, and are at that point, I was literally drinking a 12-pack a day.
Jesus.
Keep in mind, I also drive for a living, and I was going to work. Just it wasn't affecting me. So I'm like, oh, what the hell? And it took my grandfather to basically, my grandfather was a tough old World War II veteran, full-blooded Italian. He basically perfected the look, we called it. He wouldn't hit you. He would look at you and like look through you. And you had to do one of these because like, what the hell's behind me? And he never swore. But one day before he passed, he looked at me. He's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, shit.
I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what the hell? What are you talking about? He's like, you're drinking so much alcohol. And like I said, I was literally drinking liquor. I was drinking beer. I was drinking basically everything. Some of the stuff my wife still doesn't know to this day. I would literally go to the store. I would hide it in my house, in my apartment. I would hide it I used to play softball. I would hide it in my softball bag in my trunk.
That's rough.
And
That's fucking rough, dude.
it
That's
got
rough.
and
That's
when
fucking
you're
rough.
let me put this, when you're drinking beer and it smells like your feet and you're still drinking it,
Smells like your feet.
I sweat like a motherfucker, and my feet are even worse. And I got to the point, and I was doing stuff, I was saying stuff, I was going online and saying shit that I didn't even realize I was saying until somebody called me out on it. And like I said, this is the stuff that my wife doesn't know about, and obviously everybody else listening to this, watching this now is knowing it. But I got to the point, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And that's basically when I started my show. My show basically was my AA, was my outlet. Like I said, I got to the point where I was still drinking. Went on vacation to Puerto Rico 3 years ago, right when it got to the top. I drank so much vodka and cranberry, I don't remember 6 hours.
God,
I quit.
damn.
I quit drinking liquor after that. I still drink beer, but I quit drinking liquor. And then I just kept doing that. And I got to the point, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I got up every day and I felt like shit. And I went to work feeling like shit. I'd come home and I felt like shit. I would literally go on from stop to stop. I would keep a bucket in my car and I throw up in.
That's fuck, dude.
And that, and I'm, like I said, I'm not saying this to say, oh, pities me. I'm not saying that. Like I said, I'm saying this to help people. I want people to realize that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that it is possible for you to stop it. I will be on, this is coming out Monday, May 1st. It'll be 5 months sober. I have not had a drop in 5 months. And it is possible, everybody. It is possible that you can do it. And that's why I do the show, because like I said before, it's keeping me away from doing that stuff, because I have to be sober to do this. I can't be hammered doing this show, because I would literally on the weekend, I would start as soon as I wake up, I'd have vodka and vodka orange, whatever, vodka cranberry all day. And it got to, I'm like, what the hell? This is stupid. And I said, quit cold turkey, make me feel better. Still sore as hell because, well, my bad back and legs and all that stuff, but that's beside the point. That's
Were you doing
conversation.
it to mask the pain?
Pretty much.
Okay.
And I just making dumb mistakes at work, making dumb mistakes personally, professionally. And I was doing it to dull it. And that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I said, enough's enough. I can't do this anymore. You know, I felt like crap every single day. Emotionally, I was negative. And I got into podcasting, and podcasting saved it for me. And talking to people and doing this and doing that. I still talk to people because hey, I'm checking in on you. Yeah. I got a guy here locally that's been sober about 6 or 7 months.
Nice.
And we talk to each other on a daily basis. Say, hey, what's going on? How's things going? Blah, blah, blah. And even my wife, she knows, she doesn't know to what extent I was drinking. Because I'm like, you should share it. But I'm like, she's just going to worry more. She's like, do you miss it? Not really.
That's a good sign, though.
And I got to the point where I'm like, and I'll be honest, even the smell of liquor, the smell of beer make me sick right now. Like almost to the point where I throw up. And because I know if I do what the end game is, and I don't want to get to that point again. Right. But, and like I said, and that's what gets you to podcasting. That's what got me to music. That's what got me to, you know, listening to your guys' music, listening to stuff that I haven't listened to in years. It's just, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is an end game that you can be positive about it. You don't have to rely on alcohol or drugs or whatever to get you through the day, because I've been there. Yeah,
it's dependency, and a lot of people get dependent, you know. So, it so happens that also it's people get into a rut. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They get stuck in the rut of doing the same thing that they're used to.
Yep.
This is what made me feel good back then. This is what made me get past whatever it was that I was dealing with, whatever pain I was dealing with, whether it was physical or just emotional. And they get into this habit. And everybody's guilty of that. We all are. I've been guilty of it many
100%.
times. So it happens. But I'm happy for you, dude. I'm happy that you.
And I've lost a lot. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying it to say I want everybody to message me, hey, pity for you, pity for you. I'm not saying that. I've lost friends, great friends since high school because of it. Because I said stupid stuff. I did stupid stuff.
Right.
But now, I'm free and clear. I'm here to, chew bubble gum and kick ass, as Roddy Piper once said.
And you're all out of bubble gum.
Yeah, I don't like bubblegum anyway. No, I'm joking. It's a different kind of bubblegum now.
Well, dude, I can say
Speaking
this. Well, I was just gonna say, dude, at the end of the day, congratulations on 5 months. Always forward, brother.
Thank you.
And I can say from personal experience, we have lost brothers due to drinking in our own circles. So you're much better here, brother. Keep at it.
I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. RJ, thank you for coming on.
Anytime.
People, please make sure you check out RJ's podcast. It's called, is it the Ringside Rant?
Ringside Rant.
Ringside Rant.
Yeah, we're on all your major
Rant.
podcasting platforms. We're on Full Press Radio Network, fullpresscoverage.com. We're on the Shining Wizards Network. Follow myself on Twitter and Instagram @ Ringside Rant. Merchandise we already talked about. Just give it a chance. That's all I say. If you like it, great. If you don't, let me know too.
And I don't want to hear nothing about it.
You guys absolutely suck.
If you like podcasts.
Well, I was going to say, I don't want to hear anything about it because we know, just like everybody else, they grew up with wrestling just like we did. There's so many of you out there.
Everybody does.
You're a wrestling fan. Go listen to RJ. I don't want to hear nothing about it.
If you guys like podcasts, trust me, you'll like RJ's podcast.
We can do it like a rock shoot.
appreciate it, guys.
Know your
Ringside
role.
Rant,
Shut
check
your
it out,
mouth.
people.
Appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, be good humans. Always forward. Peace.